I don't know.
Straight talk. Money matters. International news. Celebrity interviews. Sports.
If I'm being discriminated based on my race, it's not.
Politics. Race.
Let's switch it around. Let's talk healthcare.
Straight talk with award-winning journalist Lloyd Geit.
Hello and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm your host, Lloyd Geit. I have an interesting guest. She's written a wonderful book called I Can't Afford to Marry You. Can you believe it? I cannot afford to marry you. Her name is marilynLogan. Thank you so much for joining us today on Straight Talk.
Thanks for having me.
How you doing?
I'm wonderfully well, but I can see you're doing even better. I love this place.
Thank you so much. Let's talk about this book. It's a true story. I Cannot Afford to Marry You. Tell me, how did you come up with this?
Well, you know, most people think that I said those words to someone, which is not true.
They were said to you.
Those were words that were said to me. So it is based on a true story. A lot of it is from Chicago. And at the end of the day, all I'm simply trying to say in the book is that make sure you know who you're saying I do to when it comes to the numbers. So in this particular instance, even though the wedding was planned and it was 4 weeks before the wedding, he flew in from town from a business trip into Chicago.
Your fiance.
My fiance flew in from Bismarck, North Dakota. Still today, I have a bad taste in my mouth for Bismarck, North Dakota. But he flew into town from Bismarck, North Dakota, and he got off that plane and he wanted to talk about my money. Well, I worked on Michigan Avenue and I lived on Lakeshore Drive. If you add the two of those together,
money,
it equaled zero. I had no money. I spent my money even before I thought about making money. I looked fabulous, but I was broke.
And you lived in a fabulous place.
Yes.
But you were broke.
Yes.
Credit card debt for days.
And more.
$11,000 in credit card debt?
And keep in mind, this was years ago, so today that would be equivalent to about $45,000 in debt. And I'm just talking credit card debt alone, not car. I'm talking straight material items, jewelry, dresses, shoes, that type of thing.
So your fiance's name was John?
Correct.
What did John tell you? You guys sat down and you talked.
Well, he wanted to have a conversation about money. And I could understand why. This is 4 weeks before the wedding. Why are we talking about money now?
And you had never talked about money before?
Ever. So I'm thinking, aren't I smart enough? Aren't I pretty enough? Don't you love me? Why are we talking about money?
But why not talk about money?
Well, because I didn't want to have a conversation about that, Lloyd. Do you understand? What part of broke was not clear? I had zero plus zero. I had no money. And I didn't want him to know that I was totally broke and I had that much debt because I was embarrassed by that. And I just wanted to, I didn't know what I was thinking. I didn't know how I was going to fix this problem. I didn't know how long I was going to be able to hide this problem. I had no idea. I just knew there was 4 weeks before this wedding and all the invitations had already been sent out. The cake ordered, the dresses, the who's who in Chicago were coming. And I had a challenge because though I tried a lot of girl techniques, women, we do things with men. You might not know this, but when we're in a crunch, we first, you know, they say the way to a man's heart is through his what?
Stomach.
So I prepared a fabulous meal to distract him from talking about money. Then I tried a few things called tears. Well, you see the problem. But still, after those dried up, he still wanted to talk about money. And even I threw in a little sex. Now, he took all my treasures and still he wanted to talk about money. He was resilient. And he was adamant about wanting to have this discussion. So I had to reveal to him the ugly truth.
That you were broke and busted.
So broke. And he wanted to see all of my credit cards. I'm embarrassed to say, I had no idea how many I had. It was in double digits.
Credit cards?
I had more than 10. Because, see, when I would go into the store to buy something, I felt important. Opening my wallet, a designer wallet, of course, paid on a credit card, and sorting through my credit cards to figure out now which store am I in, it made me feel a sense of significance. And a lot of people suffer some of the same disease that I suffered from, is that the importance is on what we look on the outside, the outside appearance. And so people go through that phase in life, and some people skip it, and some people stay in that phase forever. He came into my life to slap me into reality and simply say that we have a problem.
So John said to you, Marilyn, I cannot marry you Because you're broke.
Well, first of all, because he was an engineer, he could do math real quickly. So he added up all of the debt. And he added up everything, and he just looked at me, and he simply said, I do love you. You are my very best friend.
But
right now, you are a liability. And I can't afford to marry you. I mean, he was literally pleading with me. I can't afford to do this. This doesn't make sense. You financially don't make sense.
so he didn't want to get married to you with all of your debt because it just didn't make sense. Because he would be getting your debt.
All of it. Every dime. Every dime. So at the end of the day, I encourage people to put a smile on their face. First, read the book so I don't have to tell you everything about it. But what he really did was that he added up all my debt, and to my surprise, he wrote a check out to me. I know. He wrote a check with my name on it and encouraged me on that Monday to pay off every credit card bill that I had. Every credit card bill.
And you did?
And I did. However, in him writing that check, as he was writing my name on that check, he was erasing a lot of my self-esteem. I didn't think that we could be a partner in this relationship at all. I know it's never 50-50. I know sometimes it's 80-20, 70-30, but I wanted as close to a 50% relationship as I possibly could, because I started understanding that marriage really could be like a merger. And I was merging some negative vibes.
Wow. Okay, now John wrote the check out, $11,000 to cover your debt.
Right.
But he also said something to you that was very important. Cut up the credit cards.
He said cut up. He encouraged me to cut up all the credit cards in front of his face.
All of them.
All of the cards. And again, as each snip, 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 a lot of my self-esteem. So I knew I needed to do something different, because all he was simply saying was that I love you, but I can't have you the way you are right now. So I had to show up in the relationship as a student. Despite the fact that I'm an adult, I needed to allow him to be my teacher. See, teachers come in all forms and fashions. Don't assume it's always in the classroom. He had some knowledge and some information that my parents didn't teach me. And I had to be open to say, show me everything, teach me everything you know, and I'm going to be a sponge when it comes to the money part of this relationship, because I'm coming into this uninformed.
So you did get married to John. You cut up the credit cards. And then what happened?
Well, life shows up.
Life shows up.
I want you to understand that being addicted to spending money that you don't have is kind of it's an addiction.
It's like a crackhead or something.
No different. And so you can fall off the wagon. And so as we're going through our lives, and we had an agreement, only one card. And the agreement was, whatever you put on that card, the very next month, you're paying it off. So if you put $8,000 on that card, that's because you already have $8,000 to pay it off. Well, then throughout our moving around to different places, I moved to this place called Houston. And I went into a department store. And as I was buying an item, the person in the store said, you know, if you open up a credit card with us, you can get 20% off.
Sounded good, didn't it?
Sounded wonderful. Now, I know we had an agreement that was only be that one card that we were using, but I signed my name. Ignoring our agreement from years prior, I get home one day, and right near the door is all of my luggage. I'm assuming that we're being transferred someplace else for a job. And I go, where are we moving to? I'm so excited. Now, where are we going? Where are we going? He goes, we're not going anywhere.
John was putting you out because you broke the agreement?
This relationship is over.
Huh. That's kind of cold, isn't it?
In retrospect, it could have looked cold, but it really wasn't. All he was saying was that you're disrespecting me. Just keep in mind, let's say you and I were in a business agreement, and you and I decided how we were going to run our business. The two of us, we came together to develop a business, and we had an agreement, and I broke our agreement. Should we continue to do business together?
Maybe not. Maybe not.
So the same thing with all he was
It's a
saying
trust
was that
issue.
It's a trust. I can no longer trust you.
But he didn't throw you out, though, did
No,
he?
but because I shared with him that I was addicted to spending money and credit cards, and I had simply fallen off the wagon, and it occasionally will happen.
Like an alcoholic. You just kind of fell off the wagon.
That's right.
But you got back up.
But I got back up. with a sense of urgency, because that marriage was more important to me than that dress that I had purchased in that department store.
But it was a fabulous dress, though, wasn't it?
I did look cute in it.
So you've written this book to tell people that what they want to do is to know everything about their partner when it comes to money.
Everything. Because look at your credit report, because a person's credit report is like their DNA. Don't tell me who you are. Let me meet 5 of your friends and I'll tell you who you are. The exact same thing with reference to your credit report. If I look at your credit report totally blind, you know, when I did the show on Dr. Phil with the book, they wanted me to come into the Dr. Phil's house to review 3 couples. And before we did that, I asked the producers if I could look at all 3 couples' credit reports. I said, don't tell me anything about them, just have that okay for me to do that. I reviewed all of their reports and I called the producers back and I said, couple number 1 should probably stop dating immediately. I said, couple number 2 is probably fighting as we speak right now. And the producer said, Marilyn, how is it that you know so much about these people? You don't know their background, you don't know their ethnicity, you don't know their educational level, you don't know what they do for a living, you don't know anything about them. How is it that you peg these people so correctly? So because I'm looking at their DNA, their credit report tells me everything. It tells me where you are right now, where you've been in the past, and if you look carefully, it'll tell you where you're trying to go.
Money destroys a lot of relationships, doesn't it?
More that it's the number 1 destroyer. Not people having affairs, it's money. Because see, when the money isn't right, people stop talking to each other. When people stop talking to each other, I promise you they'll stop making love. You don't have anyone talking, you don't have anyone making love, you don't have a relationship.
Give me some pointers.
The book is entitled, I Can't Afford to Marry You, A Guide to Understanding the True Cost of Love. That's one of the pointers. It will cost you to have a relationship. And you need to determine, spend more time wondering if this relationship dissolves, how are you going to divide things? Or more importantly, how can you keep things together? Because I try to let women know that pretty isn't popular anymore. Pretty is everywhere. You put lipstick on a man, he looks pretty.
Or on a pig for that matter.
Men are looking for women who are financially responsible. They're looking for a partner. They want to know, what are you leaving on the table? But the same thing with women. People are looking for to come together individually to build a relationship. A marriage is a merger to building things together. So one of the things I would encourage, for example, if IBM or Microsoft ever came together, they would do due diligence. Look at where they've been in the past, where they are right now, and where they want to go individually before they came together. Is that a perfect match? Well, the same thing with reference to your relationship. You do that same evaluation. Evaluate where someone has been in the past with reference to their money, where they are right now, and what do they really, how they see themselves financially, detailed, lined out. They should not just be thinking about it, it should be written out. And then you merge together. And if you merge together, just like those 2 companies, if they ever merge together, there would only be 1 accounting department. I'm encouraging couples. I know you laugh when I say this. See, if you can share your bed together, I think you should be able to share your money together. So I'm encouraging couples to pull their monies together, to sit down at a table once a week and discuss jointly what you're going to do with your dollars. I think each person should have an allowance. He should have an allowance. He can do whatever he wants. Give it to a derelict, it doesn't matter. She should have an allowance, do whatever she wants. But the bulk of the money, the family needs to decide the direction of the bulk of their money.
But also, don't we many of us tend to live way above our means?
Yeah, less is a lot. And so I encourage people, when you get a raise or promotion, that's not a time to go, okay, now let's get a bigger home.
Let's go spend it.
Exactly. Or, I'm pregnant with 1 child and we already have 2 more, then maybe we need to get a bigger home. I believe your children go through you, not to you. When kids go off to college, don't they stay in a small space called a dorm with 4 or 5 people in the room and then they share a bathroom? Well, the same thing at home. Kids don't necessarily have to have their own bedroom. I mean, I'm originally from Chicago. It was 6 of us. There was only 2 bedrooms. All the girls went to one room, all the boys went to the other. You got uncomfortable, you slept on the floor, in a chair, but nobody was buying a bigger home because another child came.
Let's talk about the importance of saving what you have.
say this is what I want couples to do when they come together, because if you're by yourself, you have your own apartment or home, he has his own. When you come together, it's not an opportunity to get a bigger place. Instead, live off one income. Plan for the what if in your life, not the what when, the what if. I apologize. Plan for the when in your life, not for the if in your life, because we all get a turn for things to happen to us. So I'm encouraging people to live off just one income and bank the other. When couples do that, they're the envy of their other friends, because don't assume that your friends have a happy relationship behind the closed doors. They probably are fighting about money.
About money. Let's talk a little bit about those people who might want to get in touch with you, because you actually have become this financial guru. You're all over the place. What if people want to contact you?
Well, they can call me, of course, but they're better off going just to my website, which is my name, marilynLogan.com. That's marilynlogan.com. That's the best way. Or people oftentimes will pick up the phone, and they're surprised that I answer my phone. And they can call me at 713-876-6316. But again, the best way is just go to my website, marilynlogan.com. That's where they can also purchase a copy of I Can't Afford to Marry You.
You're getting ready to do another book. Tell me about it.
Well, I'm coming out with a new book in November entitled I Can't Afford to Eat This. I think I put the cart before the horse. I'm wondering, should I have been talking about health before I talked about money? Because throughout this journey, money is irrelevant if you don't have your health, period. It's totally irrelevant. And so you can always make more money, but you can't always get a new pancreas, a new liver, a new colon, a new kidney. You can't do that. Your body is a machine. And what I've learned is the number one reason for foreclosures. Foreclosures existed long before this last 4 or 5 years of debacle. Foreclosures existed 10 years ago, 15 years ago. The number one reason for foreclosures is someone in the household got sick.
Health.
When someone gets sick, people have the bulk of their money in two places, in their retirement account and in the equity in their home. That's where their money is. And they will liquidate both of them to give it to someone with a white jacket and a stethoscope. And I said, before you cash out all of your savings, let's talk about getting healthier. Because see, you weren't born with diabetes, a high blood pressure, or a colon cancer. You weren't born with all of that. So when I hear people tell me, Marilyn, diabetes run in my family, or high blood pressure runs in my family, I said, no, recipes run in your family.
The same recipes, the same fried chicken, the same salty greens.
Hence, I can't afford to eat this. As you chew, you have to think, can I really afford this 99 cents burger? How much is this burger really going to cost me 4 years from now? The fastest growing segment that's having strokes now, 53% increase, men between the ages of 17 and 34.
Young people.
Young people.
So you got them both covered. Health and finances.
That's correct.
Wow. I want to thank you for joining us. It has been such a delight talking with you. You're just funny. And I Can't Afford to Marry You is Marilyn's new book. Marilyn Logan's. You've got to check it out. It's funny, and it's also truthful, and it's important. Thank you so much for joining us on Straight Talk.
Thanks for having me.
And we will see you next week with yet another exciting show. Take care.
Straight Talk with award-winning journalist Lloyd Geit.